October 2023, the A7CII Mark II is released. Present day, the spectacular Hentacular is reviewing it. Hentacular!
So I just wanted to preface this video by saying I am not a photographer, I'm not a videographer, I'm an idiot sandwich. No, I'm just an avid human being who likes making vlogs. And in this video, you shouldn't expect to see any of the technical side of things. I'm going to focus more on my user experience rather than anything on paper, like, you know, 10.9 billion dots of color. I don't know. I'm not technical. And for some context, I started on the RX100, then I moved to the ZV-1 and jumped straight into full frame with the A7CII Mark II. You may be wondering, why the A7CII Mark II? Why not the ZV-E10? All of that. Obviously, with the C being compact, I wanted something more portable just for run and gun vlogging. And the second thing is, I think it's a nice hybrid between photo and video. It's not really a master of any, but a nice compromise for both. And a big part of that decision-making process is understanding the compromises which come with the camera. Which brings us to the setbacks. The first setback being the electronic viewfinder. It's not as good as the competition or what you can get out there. Personally, I had the RX100. I've never really used this viewfinder. I didn't even know what it was, so actually having a viewfinder and starting to use it was quite the bonus for me. From someone who is ignorant about the quality of viewfinders, I found it more than adequate. And very similar to the last point, there's no joystick or whatever it's called, that, I don't know, PlayStation toggle button thing you have on the back. I've never used one before. Obviously, if you've used one, you can make a better decision, but for me, it's not a deal breaker. Now, jumping into the photography space, the burst shutter only goes at 10 FPS a second.
This is just an example of what 10 FPS gets you. Here's a 10 burst image shot of a bird flying away for reference. And you can definitely capture cool moments at 10 FPS. Look at the bird's beak. Obviously, if I had a choice, I'd opt for higher FPS, but it is what it is.
And when it comes to video, it definitely shoots in 4K 60, however, that will crop in 1.5. Yeah, this one's a bit annoying for me. I wish I could use my lens at the focal length I bought them at. Lucky I shoot a lot of my high FPS stuff at 20mm, so when I do crop in, it's not that bad, but I would prefer if I had the whole 20mm. And now the biggest setback I think it has is a single SD card slot. Every single camera I've used before this only had a single SD card slot. I think I've read too much and it's made me very paranoid, but if you were interested, I did find a way to actually back up my photos and videos whilst traveling abroad without needing a laptop, and there's no cloud required. That video is here. I hope this is the correct corner. Now with the setbacks out of the way, let's focus on the camera performance. The very first thing I want to talk about is photos. Now, I find the photo resolution more than adequate. I think it's 33 megapixel. Post Henry, fix it please.
Hey guys, it's Henry in post, and I just realized you can actually print out photos from this camera in the A2 poster format. And when you do so, you can print it at 300 DPI, so there's very little to no image quality degradation. Absolute bonkers.
I do have one call out when it comes to photos actually. I find that the exposure value 0 sometimes is overexposed. I do actually lower the EV to -0.3, -1, whatever works for the scene, because I'm exposing for the highlights. Now we've reached my favorite part of the video. The video. Okay, so this camera obviously shoots at 4K, but it's oversampled from 7K. Whatever that means, I have no clue, but I think it means all of these elements. Obviously my lens plays a part, but I think it means this is very sharp. One of my favorite features about this camera is actually the LUT Preview. It doesn't actually bake into the footage, so I can shoot at S-Log and I can see the actual LUT and what it looks like live.
And just one thing worth noting, you can actually set your own LUT. So for example, they come with Rec. 709 Preview, but in user 1 you can see I've got a phantom LUT.
The other thing is that it shoots in 10-bit color, and I can genuinely say I've noticed the difference going from 8 all the way to 10. Sometimes I accidentally shoot in auto mode or whatever mode that doesn't use the LUT. The colors still look really good. Check out this video I have at Mount Fuji.
I think the devil is in the details, and you can really notice a difference when you look at the shadows and highlights.
However, I do have one complaint about bloody 10-bit color. I had to buy DaVinci Resolve Studio version because they won't do 10-bit unless you own a license. That's ridiculous. I mean, I'm just kidding, Blackmagic, I love your product. What you offer for free is insane value. Keep it up. And the video autofocus is good. That was the most unenthusiastic good I've good. However, one thing I wish the A7C had was product showcase mode. I just love how it toggles focus back and forth between me and whatever product I put here. And one feature which is really good on this camera that I have not utilized at all, this is actually my first time using it, is this very nice auto framing feature. Look at this, I'm walking left and right and my camera is mounted on a tripod there and it's reframing automatically. It works really well, and I think the reason why I don't use it is because I don't understand the resolution, because obviously it's shooting in 4K but it's cropping in. So does that mean it's 1080p? Or is it because the 4K is an oversampled 7K, it can afford to crop in and this is still 4K? Also, I am tall enough to actually fit in the frame. I don't know why I've been just talking like this. Now, when it comes to time-lapse and slow-mo, I've taken quite a handful, and my only complaint is I wish the slow-mo was more slow, if that makes sense. When you're shooting at 4K, I think it goes up to 50 or 60 FPS, and obviously you render it at 24, so it's twice as slow. I wish there was 4 times as slow, but I find that it's a limitation of the camera given that you already have the 1.5 crop and you only get twice as slow at 4K. And when it comes to time-lapse, I've actually shot like 10-hour time-lapse overnight and I have no complaints. The camera did not overheat or anything like that. Now with video covered, let's focus on the features which are consistent across both photo and video. So the biggest feature you'll notice for both is the touchscreen on the back of the camera. I love the updated Sony menus, especially with touchscreen compatibility. It's so much better compared to what Sony previously had implemented. In terms of the battery life, it gets very high praise from me. I came from, the RX100 and the ZV-1, and I've actually had 4 batteries for them. So when I came to the A7C, I also bought 2 spare batteries, and I find myself, whole day shoot, very rarely needing to grab for that 3rd battery. Most of the time, I will go through 2 batteries in a whole day vlogging scenario. The other super cool thing is I'm in love with the Hotshoe. You need to find a Hotshoe accessory which doesn't require cables, and oh my god, your life becomes so much easier. And last but not least, the water sealing. I have used my camera in a lot of rainy situations and it's still holding up today, so no complaints there. Oh shit, I didn't know it was pouring that much. And on that note, the durability is great. I've dropped my camera maybe 3 or 4 times. And yeah, there are some scuffs here and there, but there was no impact to any performance. Please take a time to like and subscribe, as well as comment. I'm glad to see some of my viewers are also appreciators of fine art. Check this out right here. Thank you. And just to conclude, I made a leap from point and shoot straight to full frame. I had no clue about cameras. This camera was the one that made me actually learn all these different shooting techniques here and there, and I would highly recommend the A7C Mark II to any beginner.